Hey guys, welcome to another update for StartupSync. This week we're in a different place. It is currently January 31st, New Year's Eve, and we've actually made a trip down to our in-laws. They live on Vancouver Island, and so we're actually on the coast right now. I'll show you what that looks like. Here, take a little pan. Check out the ocean. We're currently in our car recording just because the in-laws don't have a great place for me to record, and so yeah, we're recording out of the car today. We actually took 10 hours to get here. Had to drive through some snowy mountains in British Columbia, and I'll share some footage of that if I can find some on my dash cam. It was a nice drive, a little bit scary at parts because there was a lot of ice and snow, but we eventually made it. But yeah, this is the second iteration of the StartupSync videos where I give you guys an update on how my life's been as a startup founder. Things have slowed down a fair bit due to the holidays. I've been on the move, and being away from my computer workstation, it's a little bit harder to program, but I'm trying to still get some work done while I'm still here. But yeah, there's a few updates for this video. I've got updates on social media. There's a new app that I'm building called Miranda, and with Miranda, I'm building with Convex, which is a technology for building applications using real-time databases in a serverless fashion. And I'll talk a little bit about that. And finally, in this video, I'll talk about my personal and professional goals for 2026. Well, pretty much goals for Overseed AI. But yeah, let's dive in. For social media, it's been an interesting last couple of weeks. Today, I had my first viral LinkedIn post, and I'll show you the post somewhere over here. But basically, this is the first post that really kind of blew up in my perspective. I woke up this morning and I found that my post had gotten 75 plus likes, roughly about 30 comments, and thousands of impressions. And it was a post about hiring junior developers. And apparently that struck a chord with some people, and a lot of people feel strongly about that in our field. So yeah, interesting to see that post take off. I generally find that I get a lot more engagement on LinkedIn than all the other platforms combined. YouTube being a separate thing, but compared to X or Twitter or Blue Sky, if you guys have heard of Blue Sky, it's like a newer version of X or Twitter. I've been trying my luck with both platforms here, but a lot of my posts, and I'll post it like in here somewhere, but a lot of my posts don't get a lot of engagement, don't get a lot of impressions, and I suspect that the algorithm suspects that I'm a bot. And they probably do get a lot of bots, so that's not a unfair thing to do. It's just that I've been posting somewhat consistently for the last 2 months, and my content has been, I would say, varied, and I try to keep things real, and I have never used AI to generate any of my text. But I do find that a lot of my posts like straight up get 1 impression or 2 impressions, oftentimes less than 10. And this to me is crazy, just because, I've been told that you're supposed to keep going and you're supposed to stay consistent and bring value to people. And perhaps the content is not that great, but I feel that I do try to add value to the content that I write, and to see pretty much no traction is very discouraging. But that's just life. I am considering either dropping those 2 platforms altogether. Primarily, I do think that the algorithm for X and Blue Sky perhaps may not be geared towards small discovery channels like myself. So this might be something that I might have to come back to once I have a bigger following, and once I am able to convert some other users from other platforms into a following on X and Blue Sky. That way I have a little bit more initial traction to get started. But I'm not an expert. Maybe I'll talk to a social media consultant. Who knows? But that's X and Twitter. X and Blue Sky. In terms of making YouTube videos, I'm actually having a blast creating these YouTube videos. The last video that I created is on the VOCLI that I've been working on. I'm getting a little bit of traction on that. A lot of positive feedback. We even have it showcase on the awesome Cloud Code resources GitHub repository, which is exciting. But that video took a lot of time for me to make. It was only 3 minutes, but I think all in all, it took me across 3 days to film it and to edit it and to just get it to a level that I'm happy with. Obviously, I will get better at making videos over time, and this is only my 5th video, but it's just interesting to see just how much work it takes to create these videos. But at the same time, I'm obviously learning how to do this a lot better, faster, and hopefully more efficiently in the future. And I've come across several tools, several AI tools that help me convert these videos into a more enjoyable format. So apps like Descript or Riverside are able to take your video and convert it into these little sections that are completely transcribed. And all you do is you just work with the text, you work with your transcription, and that does the editing for you. So if you just cross out a word, it just takes out parts of your video that has that word. And using features like that, I think would really help me output videos at a much faster pace. And I'm using DaVinci Studio for that, and they have a built-in feature to do exactly that if you pay for the studio version. And but yeah, that's my update on the social media front. I think one of the questions I get a lot from friends and family is, why am I focusing so much time on social media? And I think this is really important. We're getting into an age where your personal branding is basically your leverage. If you're able to show your employer, or if you have a big social media following, that's pretty much leverage for you. So you're able to prove to your future employer or your interviewer, hey, I've got these followers. I am an expert in my field. I've got the validation for it. I've got the followers to prove for it. And in some cases, if you have a YouTube channel about tutorials and tech videos, I think that's a lot of stuff to validate that you are someone who has expertise and experience in the industry. Not only that, it shows that you have the courage to put out videos and the creativity to do these things. And if I were to see another candidate further down the road and they have a YouTube channel and they're able to produce videos while working, I would be very impressed by that. But yeah, for me personally, it's to gain social proofing, but at the same time, eventually in 2026, I do want to be producing SaaS products or AI products, and having a following that understands what I'm building, that has an interest in the things that I'm building, I think will be very good to have, and it will be a great place for me to start advertising and marketing. And that's sort of why I started social media. But at the same time, I'm finding that making content is a very enjoyable experience, although at the same time it's very frustrating and stressful. Coming up with content is tricky, and I've come to learn that there are tips and tricks for social media, but it's a whole world of testing things out and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't work, and a lot of things to learn. But all in all, super enjoyable. I'll continue to go at it. I think consistency is key. Just keep trying, learn new things, and see what happens. So that's social media. Going on to development side of things, I've been trying out a few different projects, but the one that I've been working on the most in the last week or so has been something called Miranda. Now, Miranda is an AI agent for news. The idea is that I would have an AI agent that helps me curate up-to-date news that has just come out, so that I can easily parse out which news is interesting for me to make a video on. Because I do plan on making YouTube videos on latest developments in the AI scene. And Miranda is an app that I plan to help me with that process. So the flow for this app is it should work completely asynchronously on its own. It will scan the latest news, and it will read the content and figure out if this article or this news piece is of interest to me, and it will give me ideas on what people might like about it, and then it will send me a message on Slack, so that so that I have a way of communicating with it, and it notifies me of things it's found. Um, but yeah, that's the general flow of Miranda. And I have a couple of iterations on this. I actually created the very first iteration of Miranda using just AI, and that iteration actually failed quite miserably. Let me rephrase that. The first iteration wasn't that great. It was actually working, but there was a lot of issues with it. The AI had a hard time kind of changing the way that it was flowing, but at the same time, I was testing out new ways of using AI. I actually gave it a custom instruction um, saying, hey, use Opus, but keep your context window very clean, very free. Only code with subagents. So Opus would basically task a subagent to write the code, and then once that subagent, which was running Sonnet, once that agent had finished the code, it would just provide a recap and report back to Opus. That way, Opus would not keep the context of what that Sonnet subagent wrote. The rationale for that was that I figured if you kept the original parent agent context window free, that it would do a lot better job over a long course of time for that session. But I found that the coding output of the Sonnet model, the subagents, perhaps because it was missing a lot of context from the parent, or the parent wasn't giving it enough context, it just wasn't producing code at a quality that I was happy with. And eventually it just came to a point where it wasn't progressing with the project much. So I scrapped it. And at the same time, I wanted to learn a new piece of software called Convex that a lot of people and a lot of people in tech have been talking about. So I recreated the project using my own style, but also using Convex. And that I'm still working on it, but the first iteration seemed a little bit more promising. I still hadn't gotten to a point where the AI was actually parsing the data, but um, I but I got to a point where I had a platform and I now have AI working on it simultaneously. It's like the hybrid approach where I just give it instructions and it's just working with me. So stay tuned for how that project goes. But moving on to Convex, my initial impression of Convex is that it seems like it seems on the surface like a very nice platform, but it's actually not that great. And the reason why I say that is that it has its own database operations. So it's built on Postgres, but from what I understand, it uses like the JSON-B column, and it uses filters on that JSON-B column. So it's able to create like a document structure database using Postgres, which seems a little bit unintuitive, but it's basically their way of overriding the Postgres so that you can have custom data and you can do whatever you want with it. But because of that, they had to re-implement a lot of the database operations, and some of the ways that you interact with the database is not that great. A lot of the APIs are missing. They even have documentation saying that you probably don't want to filter as much because the filtering on the database operations is not efficient. So what they want for you to do for large operations is load it into memory using a database index and then filtering that. And that to me seems like a big red flag saying, maybe this is not scalable in the future. Because if the numbers of documents that you have in your database is large, you're kind of screwed when your server is loading all of that into context or into its local memory. Amongst other reasons, there's a lot of like things that are missing in that database operation I was find. And I'm comparing the Convex database operations with the latest ORM that I've used, which is Drizzle. And but even Drizzle is not fully mature, but I would say that Drizzle has a lot more operations than Convex. But there's a lot of things that Convex does that makes your life easier and that obviously has it going for them. They do a lot of code generation for you, so a lot of the code that you write, your queries and mutations, it's all type safe. You're able to import it in your front end, and that's where it really shines. It's like a full stack platform that generates a lot of the code for you. You just have to specify the things that you want. You provide the schema and the validation and the business logic, but it kind of takes care of the glue that binds the front end and the back end together, which is really nice. And at the same time, it's real time by default. So it provides these use query hooks where You just pass in the function that you created, your mutation function or your query functions, and whenever you do a mutation, it automatically clears the cache. It refetches. All that stuff is really nice. But I wouldn't say that it's a game changer because you can achieve similar levels of similar, if not even better levels of that level of real-time data with other libraries without having to relearn a lot of these things, because there's a lot of things that you do in Convex that is the Convex way. And if you don't do it that way, Convex will yell at you. Like the application won't even compile. There's a lot of like developer experience for it is it's in a weird state. It's really good, but at the same time, it's not that good. So like there's a lot of good things about it, like I said, where the code gen stuff is good, but it's also not that great in a lot of ways. And that learning curve, I wouldn't say is very smooth, just because the APIs are not 100% intuitive that I've seen compared to other apps where other toolings that are more intuitive to learn. In addition, the integration that Convex has with the front end, I would say, is a little bit weird. They provide their own use query hooks and use mutation hooks, but I'm a TanStack guy. I use React Query, and I'm a huge React Query fan. And if you're not using React Query, I highly recommend that you do. React Query has a really good developer experience. It provides you with the underlying structure to provide you with the loading status, the error status, the data, retries, enable state. Like it does a lot of things behind the scenes. And Convex provides their own identically named use query hook, but it doesn't have the same features as React Query. So they provide you with a integration with React Query, but like the way that you interact with it is that you have to like spread the original Convex query into a TanStack query. But when you import the TanStack query, you have to rename the variable import because it's the exact same name. The Convex DB use mutation hook is quite basic. It's just an exposed function. It doesn't have any loading status or error status on it like TanStack does. So yeah, I would say I'm not terribly thrilled with my decision to go with Convex, but at this point I'm passing the project off to AI and I'm just going more supervisory on it. So hopefully the project still moves forward. This is not meant to be a huge project. So I'm getting the thing that I'm getting out of this is the learning experience and hopefully a useful AI app. Okay, the final update for this video is the goals for 2026. Because tomorrow is New Year's and 2026 is going to be an exciting year, obviously. There's a lot of changes in the AI scene. I'm not sure if you guys heard, but Claude Code is getting a ton of updates and it's getting better and better. And I'm super excited to make some videos about Claude Code so please stay tuned for that. But 2026 for Overseed AI and myself personally, I think the main goal is to get to product market fit. And I have ideas on using AI to get to it, but right now we don't have a product that we stand behind. And in 2026, we do want to get to a point where we start accumulating revenue. So we'll be focusing a lot more on projects that have revenue potential. 2025 has been a lot of like learning about AI and seeing the tools that we can develop to help us develop faster. But in 2026, I think the focus will be more focused on the actual startup process of building products. Obviously, I'll still spend a bit of time on the toolings themselves because the toolings help us develop faster and it also exposes some areas of AI development that's obviously in need. But yeah, in terms of using AI for developments, my current thoughts on this is that I think in 2026, I need to stop coding as much. And that's not to say I will stop coding, period. But coding with Convex, like learning to write Convex code while I was developing that app, has made me realize that learning how to do all these low-level stuff is very meaningless and very time-consuming. So if I want to write an application in a new stack using a new technology, what I need to do is learn the high level ins and outs of that technology, but not really focus on the low level stuff. So like I don't want to focus on the syntax. I don't want to focus on, you know, how very low level systems interact with one another. I should really be steering the application at a high level and making some architectural decisions. So what I plan to do in 2026, and I've already started doing this year, is to read more on architecture, better software paradigms, learning how to work with data better, like focus less on the actual low level programming stuff. So that's my goal for 2026. More high level stuff, more AI developments, and yeah, that's my update. Thanks for tuning in. I'll have another update for you in a few weeks. In the meanwhile, I do plan to get to you guys more AI news related videos. I want to make more videos on Claude Code because Claude Code is very useful, and they're starting to venture out into more generalist markets. So they're starting to add more features that tailor to non-programmers. So that's going to be an interesting avenue to learn about and to make videos about. But yeah, if you are interested in content like this, please make sure to subscribe and to follow to stay notified. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.